Okay, now, Phil's quick capsule review.
Piece of shit.
Okay, now. Yeah. End of story, by the way.
Hello everyone, welcome to Quick Capsule Review, the latest Stormbreaker Films breakout star show. Okay, well, this is yet to be determined, but thank you TD for this opportunity to ramble in the midst of a sea of Nerdspirations and Ghostwood Manor updates, which I haven't had to do any work on. I've just been resting on my laurels, doing my thing. But now the onus is on me to provide a little bit of entertainment for the Stormbreaker Films channel. So the new series, of course, we just saw Bill Hicks there, the legendary Bill Hicks, with his quick capsule review of Basic Instinct, I believe it was. And you know, I just like continuing the tradition of naming movie review shows after things uttered by great comedians like Patrice O'Neill's Dinosaur Forest line. But anyway, today's quick capsule review is about these three movies, all of which were loaned to me by my good friends and patrons of the Stormbreaker Films cause, Jamie and Brian. Jamie, aka Genghis Pecan the Great. So the films we're looking at today are Planet of the Vampires, Freebie the Bean, and Scavenger Hunt. Freebie the Bean is one that me and TD we're going to watch for a Dinosaur Forest episode, but the audio was just horrendous, and having watched the whole movie, I did get used to it, but you can tell a lot of the stuff was just kind of recorded live. I don't think they overdubbed anything. It was all sort of like recorded on the scenes, so it was a little rough. You know, you'd have Alan Arkin and James Caan both being sort of like fast-talking New Yorkers, and they just wander off, and the volume levels would change. Anyway, it was a little rough, and no closed captioning either, so had to pass on that one. But I was glad to finally have a chance to see it and these other two enjoyable films. Now I want to begin today's episode with a cautionary tale. A little while ago I was talking to my friend Buck at work about the Pink Panther movies and how I distinctly remembered the one where Roger Moore took over because Peter Sellers had died, and they like unwrapped Roger Moore like a mummy at the end, and it was Peter Sellers' character, but he'd had all this plastic surgery, so Roger Moore was going to take over the series. And I also specifically remembered that same movie had a bunch of clip shows. It was basically a feature film, but it was a clip show episode at the same time. It was truly terrible. But like there are all these clips of Kato sneak attacking him, which I always thought was the funniest thing. And then he did a little bit of cursory internet research and discovered that I was completely wrong, that Curse of the Pink Panther, one of them had Roger Moore at the end, but then the one with the clip show was like a completely different movie. So I've learned not to trust my memory. And I remember enjoying Scavenger Hunt tremendously as a kid. I thought it was like one of the most enjoyable films. And the scene I remembered most from it was this scene right here. I'll show you.
Damn you, Leon! What I want to know is what does Leon mean by two giant melons?
Okay, you get the idea. This is a Disney film, by the way. So this waitress and her clue buried between her giant melons was not in the film at all. This is Midnight Madness. I could have sworn it was in Scavenger Hunt. Completely wrong. Anyway, that's I call it the Pink Panther effect now, but really it's just movie Alzheimer's. Anyway, moving on to the lovely Freebie the Bean. We got these two dapper gentlemen, Jimmy Caan and Alan Arkin, who's maybe the least intimidating cop I've ever seen, just based on the fact that he's Alan Arkin. James Caan may as well be playing Sykes from Alien Nation, like it's basically the exact same character, which if you enjoyed Alien Nation, and you should, then this film will be a kind of enjoyable echo of that. These two guys, they get into some zany adventures, like there's cars crashing through walls, and there's a lot of car chases, a lot of action, honestly a lot of violence. There's a scene here where they just straight up murder a guy in a shower stall, like Unforgiven. Like, it's just crazy. Like they're cops, but they're you know, cops on the edge. I guess James Caan's more the cop on the edge than Alan Arkin, but yeah, they get into some crazy adventures. Some very un-PC things happen. The villain is a gay guy, and that they call faggot, and like that sort of thing wouldn't happen today. Honestly, there were a lot of moments in this movie where I kind of was repulsed, I guess, revulsed. I felt revulsion. And I had a similar experience watching Lethal Weapon. I recently watched the 4 Lethal Weapon movies. Actually, if you ever buy those 4-disc sets, you may notice, like I have, that the bottom discs don't work, so you can only watch the odd-numbered movies. It's kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, the Lethal Weapon movies, I recently realized, like, all the zany antics and stuff, like where they would like shoot Joe Pesci's tires for no reason, or take his gun and throw it into the ocean. Like, I just didn't enjoy that anymore. I don't know why, but like all the mayhem and stuff that they cause, I guess really, you know, a cop movie, like a buddy cop movie, is sort of like a weird power fantasy where you can just, you know, wreck people's watermelon stands and do whatever you want and get away with it. You know, they get chewed out by their police chief, but that's about it. Anyway, it's weird. It's like a sort of a genre I guess I've lost my taste for. But it was interesting watching this, because I realized this is, you know, this film and others like it, buddy cop films in general, are sort of a template for payback time, and you know, which, you know, we knew filming it, but I'd never seen this before, but I could see the echoes of it from Lethal Weapon and stuff, you know, because they, you know, they have like a few dramatic scenes where like one partner thinks the other one's dying, but then they'll just like go back to strangling each other, like Bart and Homer, and just getting into crazy adventures. But I enjoyed it. It was all right. Definitely, like I said, a lot of the politics of it are very dated. There's a lot of strangulation of women and like crazy stuff going on. It's just stuff you wouldn't normally expect anymore, but you know, it's still an interesting artifact from the buddy cop genre. So moving on to a scene that actually was in Scavenger Hunt. We'll talk about Scavenger Hunt now. This when I was a kid, I thought this scene was like the epitome of cool. This is one of the teams led by Roddy McDowall, the not Malcolm McDowell, the psychopath from Caligula, but Roddy McDowall, the cutie pie from Fright Night. One of the teams goes into a chemistry lab to steal a microscope, and they get locked in, so they try to get the emergency alarm to go off by lighting the sprinklers on fire, and all it does is create this giant wall of foam. I think this is an Italian version, so there's a lot of Mamma Mia's going on. But Roddy McDowall plays a unflappable butler in this film, and he's fantastic. Something about this image of a guy just peeling off plastic to preserve his wonderful tuxedo always stuck with me as like the epitome of panache. So anyway, that's a little taste of Scavenger Hunt. I still love this movie. It's fantastic. I mean, where else are you going to see Arnold Schwarzenegger assaulting who is it? Tony. Oh, son of a bitch! The cast is like so humongous. I can't even remember them all. But God, who was the guy who was always on Letterman? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Schwarzenegger like throwing a medicine ball at a guy, and you see Meatloaf play. Tony Randolph? I don't know. Anyway, you see Meatloaf play a biker named Scum. God, Vincent Price just slumming it worse than when he was the Eggman and Batman. Like, just an amazing cast. Tony Randall, that's who it is. God, I'm telling you, man, movie Alzheimer's. It's going to hit you too if it hasn't already. But it was a really cool cast, and you know, like I said, there's, you know, of all the movies where Scatman Crothers puts on a suit of knight's armor, this is definitely in the top 5 for me. But I enjoyed it. But basically, the premise is, I didn't even really go into the premise of Freebie and the Bean. It's a buddy cop movie. You know, that's all you need to know. Scavenger Hunt, the premise is Vincent Price plays like basically a Milton Bradley type guy who dies, and he makes his, he lived his life in the form of games, so I like to play a game. He forces all these family members, including like Cloris Leachman is a really objectionable sister, and all his staff, like his chef and maid and driver, and anyway, he gets them all like in different teams. Dirk Benedict plays like one of his obscure nephews, and then I forgot who played the guy, but some cabbie who like screwed over his old business partner back when he took over the company. Like just some random guy that just happened to be a cabbie he remembered owing a favor to because he was so inept that he cost his business partner his position in the firm. Or anyway, all these people have to compete for this fortune of $200 million, which in the 80s was a lot of money. And there's this weird like ongoing gag where one of the items is a ostrich, and this guy that sounds like a Thuffatash, like he's like a zookeeper who keeps losing ostriches and he's losing his mind. Like it has a very Cannonball Run type vibe, but nothing wrong with that. I always like those type of movies. It's funny watching movies like Scavenger Hunt or Rat Race or whatever as an adult, where you understand the demands of screenwriting, and how if somebody is like having some sort of epiphany about their life, or like they start bonding with their family where that was like a stumbling block before, you start to get a no shit moment if that's the team you're rooting for, because they're going to have some kind of closure even without winning all the money. So anyway, I always love those type of things, because the people I root for never win. It's bizarre. So let's see, what are we looking at here? We looked at Scavenger Hunt. We got to turn that on. All right. So moving on to our next and final film, the Planet of the Vampires. This is a film about a spaceship full of explorers who uncover this emergency distress signal on an abandoned planet, and they land on the planet and they proceed to discover that the oversized pilots of an alien spacecraft had all been killed by something on the planet. So, obviously this movie came out before Alien, and Alien owes a shitload to it. It almost is like a level of pure plagiarism, when you really look at it. Although I guess, the villains aren't like hostile aliens or like monster vampires. They're more like body snatchers, I guess. Ghostly body snatchers. It kind of reminds me of Ghosts of Mars a little bit more than Alien. But you can definitely tell that there was a massive debt owed to Alien in this film. And Jamie, who loaned it to me, pointed out like a lot of James Cameron's style also owes to it, because there's like all these strong contrasts between blues and reds. And I just enjoyed it for Norma Bangle. But I'll tell you what, like this. Like these leather Matrix outfits they were wearing, they actually look better than the X-Men era, Matrix era outfits that they wore during those times. But man, nothing sucks worse than like trying to like look up an old actress who you think is hot, because you see this over here and you're like no, just block out, no. Okay, yeah, that's how we want to remember you. But yeah, Norma Bangle, she did it for me. She was my favorite. But yeah, these little Matrix outfits were really cool. And it was like 2 levels ahead of something that would be on MS-2 but you could still kind of imagine it being on MS-2 just because they had, sort of like, for instance, like the captain's name was Mark, and everyone kept yelling, Mark, Mark. It just had some like little errors in it, but yeah, and it also had a oh no, it was Earth all along, that kind of twist at the end. So it was a little rough by today's standards, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was visually pretty impressive, actually. Like the cinematography was really pretty, very well done. Norma Bangle in a weird biker outfit playing a space alien, can't really go too wrong there. I don't know what movie this is from, but we need to figure it out. But yeah, that's about it for the quick capsule review. Bye!